You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're looking to save our planet in Fab Facts.
We're joining the army for an important vehicle test in the Randomiser.
and the Eagle has landed. It's part 3 of our Space 1999 interview with David and Robert.
That's all coming up in Pod 208.
Of the spicy Gerry Anderson podcast. Woo.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Well, greetings all. Now, Richard, hang on.
What?
Spicy? What about this podcast is spicy, precisely?
Well, in that little intro that we just gave the listener there, you may remember, Jamie, on the first take, I made a little boo-boo, and I called that prestigious mid-1970s Gerry Anderson production Spice 1999.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, Podsterons, if you have any ideas for restaurant names based on famous Gerry Anderson series, we'd love to hear from you. Please email us podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Very good idea. Yeah, I like that, actually. Gerry Anderson-themed restaurant. Why has no one ever thought of that?
Well, there was the Thunderbirds Cafe in Tokyo, of course.
And I remember at some point in our illustrious podcast history, we did have a menu of Gerry Anderson-inspired dishes, didn't we?
We did.
Can't remember any of them, but I know we did. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Anyway, but if you can think of any, then please do send them in. We'd love to.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Now, we don't normally start with Spice 1999 or even calling this thing spicy, because I would say, as human beings in the world go, Richard, you and I are sort of safely vanilla.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite accurate.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, Mr. Vanilla over there is Richard N. James.
That's right, and Mr. Bland over there is Jamie L. Anderson.
You almost forgot my name there.
I did, yes.
Interesting.
I had to think it through, yeah.
Yes. And very nice, but essentially human rice. It's Mr. Chris Dale over there.
He is.
I mean, didn't have to rhyme, did it? Oh, he's scowling at me terribly after that.
God, that's the look of death, isn't it?
It was a compliment, Chris.
Yes.
Oh, hang
honestly?
on.
Oh, dear.
Chris, don't go.
What? Hang on. Oh, Jamie.
He stormed off.
That's that then. Oh,
I thought that was supposed to be nice and funny, but...
Oh, God.
Anyway, well, hopefully he'll be back later on to bring us the randomiser, because he is the randomiser, and without him, this podcast is nothing.
That's right.
I said this podcast is nothing, Chris.
Yeah.
No, hasn't worked.
No, I could see his shadow through the window there on the door, on the opposite wall. I think he's lurking out there.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe he's just getting some fresh air. Anyway, he will be back later on, I'm sure, for the randomiser, where he randomly watches a random episode of a random Gerry Anderson show and says fascinating and hilarious things about it.
Always,
true?
Yeah. Every week, yeah.
So the filler between this point now and that point then with the randomiser is as follows.
Yes. Actually, do you know what? I'm doing things a little bit differently these days. Now, this is the point, just for 1 week, where I normally say people have been emailing us in and tweeting us and Facebooking us and all that stuff. Our lovely podsterons and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Well, this week, I went onto our Facebook group and I asked this question. What couldn't you live without from the Gerry Anderson universe? Could it be a show or a character, some merch, or even your fellow podsterons? And of course, people responded. So, as the show progresses, I shall be reading out a few answers and posing the question to you at home, listener. What from the Gerry Anderson universe couldn't you possibly live without? And on top of that, of course, we have got some other posts in our Facebook group, and I think we'll head on over to our YouTube channel as well, where people have been commenting merrily on previous podcasts and Fab Facts.
It would have been lovely. Well, can I tell you what I couldn't live without from the Gerry Anderson universe?
I think I know what's coming.
#Mummy A.
Oh, well, okay, I'll let you have that one then. Yeah.
You were
I thought you were going to say...
thinking I was going to say
me, obviously.
Chris Dale. Oh, I mean...
no, what?
And anyway,
Yeah, okay.
moving swiftly on, I think we've got this thing that Richard really likes and everybody else does too, called Fab Facts, because I got a book of Fab Facts. You want to hear a Fab Fact? Yeah, let's hear a Fab Fact. Here we go!
That'll cheer me up.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Yes, Fab Facts, which will no doubt cheer Richard up no end.
Yeah.
As well as some of you lovely Podsterons. I've got a book of Fab Facts. I just gave it a little slap there so you could hear it was here. I'm going to flick through it. Richard will shout Fab at a very random point, which will stop me on a random page, and hopefully upon that page we will happen upon a Fab Fact.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes, as mud.
Good. Richard, are you primed with your Fab?
Always primed.
I'm standing by with my book of non-fiction.
Well, go
Here
on
we
then.
go.
Fab!
What? The first bit went so fast.
I noticed.
I was worried we were going to run out of pages there, but
Yes.
no, don't worry. But it does mean that you have landed us squarely in the 1980s.
Oh, right, okay. Cool.
What a lovely decade. Some of the finest things that were created in that decade, I'll have you know.
Right.
You know.
What, like skateboards? No. Walkmans.
It's the
Sony
decade
Walkmans.
I was born, Richard. Thanks.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, who doesn't like a bit of Terrorhawks? Yeah, all right. No, I didn't mean. Shush, quieten down now. Those of you who don't like Terrorhawks, we're very aware that not
It was
everybody
a
loves
rhetorical
Terrorhawks.
question.
Yeah. Okay. So probably there are a few people who don't like Terrorhawks, but Dad's Return to Puppetry is worth checking out if you've never seen it before. I'm very, very fond of it, as I've told many people many times. There's obviously the
Anyone
lovely
who
audio
listens, yeah.
series from Big Finish, exactly. Anyway, Richard, did you know that Terrorhawks wasn't originally meant to be a puppet series at all?
I did not know that.
Oh, it was meant to be an
Live
anime
action.
series.
Anime. Ah, yes.
So, at the end of Space 1999, Dad was approached by Japanese media company Tohoku Shinsha, who were connected to the Japanese agents of Keith Shackleton's merchandising agency, as well as ITC, because they kind of built themselves on the Anderson shows. The Lou Grade of Tohoku Shinsha was an executive named Banjiro Uemura, who offered Dad the opportunity to create a series which could then be produced as a cartoon in Japan, with profits being split equally between the two production companies, as is often the way in a co-production. Now, as we know from a previous Fab Fact, that deal ultimately fell through after considerable development work, including the final collaboration between Dad and Reg Hill to produce a lot of that development material.
Ah, right.
Now, later, Dad reworked elements from Thunderhawks, that then title thing, into Terrorhawks. It was Christopher Burr who ultimately suggested that Dad use puppets in order to capitalise on the ongoing success of the 60s series worldwide, and Mr. Uemura later took elements of the concept and made Thunderbirds 2086. So you can see how all these ideas diverge, converge, reconverge, go all over the place.
Yep.
Now, according to some historical research done on a blog, which you can find at retroanimechris.blogspot.com, Mr. Uemura pitched Thunderhawks to the Japanese network MBS, who passed on it because they believed they didn't need another sci-fi series in their schedule at the time.
Right.
The pilot episode of this series was to be called Save Our Planet, and concern the adventures of teenager Hayato Yuki, sorry if I've mispronounced that terribly, who is a member of an elite organisation created to defend the humans of the solar system, not from an alien menace, but from a form of genetically engineered half-termite, half-human beings.
What?
Who had been created by a mad scientist as a replacement for weak Earthlings.
Yeah, weaker.
Now, it's not clear how much of that pitch was Dad's and how much of it was the Japanese creative team. But if it had come to fruition, it sounds like it would have been a very, very different story from the Terrorhawks that we know and love.
Yes.
So you can find more information on it at retroanimechris.blogspot.com.
Now, do we
there you
know how your dad felt about a return to puppetry after his live-action series?
Well, he was not super happy. I mean, we touched on it very, very lightly in the documentary, in fact. But it was his return. It was his recovery. It was stepping back after a fairly devastating period professionally and personally. The budget was nowhere near as high as he wanted, so he couldn't make it in the way that he wanted. And so there are a lot of things about Terrorhawks which were concessions, I suppose, at best.
Okay, yeah. But you feel, don't you, that actually it succeeds because of that, perhaps?
Yeah, it's part of its sort of slightly pantomimey comedic style works because of the puppets and because of the constraints, financial and otherwise. So, I mean, I remember he said that when they pitched the Thunderhawks concept to Japan, which was then rejected and then reworked and all that sort of stuff, that some of the executives said, this is so amazing, this has to be a live action series, it's too good to be an anime series.
Wow.
So they almost worked it up too far for it to be effective. So, but maybe that worked for the best. I don't know. I don't know how good a representation of the future potential of that show Thunderbirds 2086 is. It's probably quite different. Mm-hmm. But yes, all these things that might have been, and it gives you an insight into the process of development of these things and how long and how much they stray from their original paths before eventually coming to fruition.
Yeah, nice. Very good.
So if you've got any pictures or anything you'd like to share from those early Thunderhawks and Terrorhawks things, which seem to do the rounds online, I believe almost the entire document is on that retroanimechris.blogspot.com site.
Great.
I've certainly seen something recently. So do email us, podcast@gerryanderson.com with your thoughts. But for now, I think that probably brings us to the end of this week's
Anime Fact! Oh, yeah.
An anime, you see.
Yeah, we're in the same sort
anime
of ballpark, yeah. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway, you're listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Now, I haven't said this for a couple of weeks, but you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. And you can also leave us a nice review or a rating or a revating. Let us know how we're doing. Leave us some nice glittery stars if you feel like it. And also copy the link to all your socials so your friends can listen too. Now, over on our Facebook group, that's facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, I asked the question, what couldn't you live without from the Gerry Anderson universe? It could be a show, a character, some merch, or even your fellow Podsterons. What couldn't you live without? And Gary Hodgkinson replied, couldn't live without the podcast brightening up Monday mornings. Cheers, Fab Trio. It's nice, isn't it? I mean, it makes me sound like I was sort of fishing for compliments a bit, but I wasn't.
Really
honestly.
Lovely, really nice.
Yuhan says, in all honesty, it's this very Facebook group. Not only is this the friendliest fan community I'm part of, it's also an oasis, a place to re-energise myself amongst friends, sharing our love of everything Gerry Anderson. To steal a thought from my second favourite podcaster, John Campy, an oasis isn't an escape from whatever troubles you may have in life, but it will certainly refresh and re-energise you to take those challenges head on. Wow, that's nice, isn't it? Yeah, well, I hope we do the same for you, Yuhan. Pam March, or as I'm calling her from now on, Pam Marchy March, said, again, this podcast group, one of the best groups on Facebook. And Robert Muck said, I couldn't live without all my childhood memories of watching various Gerry Anderson shows and becoming hooked and involved with the adventures and characters on screen. Pen Quiller says, I couldn't live without the friendships I've made through my love of Gerry Anderson shows. These enabled me to travel around the world and meet fellow fans in USA, Australia and New Zealand. And Emma Nichols, finally for now, says, everything. Except Joe 90. He's scary.
That's fair.
You think?
Totally justified. Yes, totally justified, I would say.
Fair enough. Anyway, we'll be nipping back to our Facebook group a little later on to see what else our lovely Podsterons couldn't live without.
I'm sure there'll be all sorts, and I'm sure plenty of them will say Richard N. James.
I'm sure they will, yes. In fact, those that did say Richard N. James, I've copied and pasted several times throughout today's show.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing repeated mentions of your name.
Hooray!
Now, Richard James, every week there's some Gerry Anderson news in the Gerry Anderson Newsiverse. So would you like some of that now?
Yes, please.
Then it's time for this week's Gerry Anderson news. Yes, as usual, there's always new stuff, and that's why we call this section the Gerry Anderson
News. It's
not quite normally that newsy, but obviously this week Richard's decided it is. So let us begin with this. So let's start with Danger Zone. I teased it last week. I said we were going to enter the Danger Zone. Well, now we have, or we've sort of threatened to do it. Thunderbirds Danger Zone is a brand new cooperative card game developed by a fantastic chap called Andrew Harmon, who's done all sorts of award-winning games, and he's worked very, very hard over the last 9 months to put together this cooperative card game in which you get to be International Rescue. Yep, you play against the game. It's pretty fast-paced. It's against the clock. The HUD might interfere, and every turn somebody else gets to be Jeff. So whoever's playing, I think it's 3 to 6 players. Each time somebody new gets to be Jeff, they get to be the one kind of dictating things, driving the strategy. And then, you know, some things are down to luck, some things are down to hard work.
Yes.
Anyway, there'll be more stuff on that soon. I've done an interview with Andrew, which will be coming up in the next few weeks. We'll have videos of gameplay, cards, card visuals, and all sorts of other stuff in the next few weeks. But it's a rather lovely thing. We've got a few offers this week if you'd like to pick up some bargains. So, there's the last few copies of the Super Space Theatre Blu-ray collection. So if you want to top up your 80s nostalgia lens of Space 1999 in high definition, then I highly recommend you do that. I think we've got them on sale for just $39.99, down from 50 quid. But there aren't that many remaining, so go and grab them if you can. If you haven't yet dived into our Thunderbirds audio dramas, what are you waiting for? What are they waiting for, Richard?
Yes, I've ordered mine already.
Terror from the Stars is all 4 CDs down at $19.99. Sounds a bit inappropriate brand-wise, but there we go. It's the first of our John Thaden reimaginings with a full cast audio and lovely music and Wayne Forrester narrating. Now's the time to get into it if you possibly can. And if you're feeling more musical, Captain Scarlet, the original series full soundtrack from Silver Screen, this week only, $9.99. Oh, what a bargain. If you like free things,
oh yeah,
and I know you do, Podsteron, we all love them. Free Terrorhawks. Oh,
that's exciting.
Yeah, see, I heard the cheer from Anderson's HQ. Over the next few weeks, we've got various freebies coming up on our YouTube channel, including some more episodes of Terrorhawks and new Captain Scarlet, and the first free Terrorhawks episode, Midnight Blue, has just dropped, so head over to youtube.com/GerryAndersonTV. There's all sorts of goodies happening there and here and all over the place. And I hear some bloke called Richard James has been doing quite a lot of writing.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe we'll think about talking about that in a few weeks' time.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Anyway, for now, that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. That was the news.
In fine fettle as always.
As ever. Yeah, exactly.
What a beaut.
I do try.
It was paying off. All those singing lessons you've been going to, really working.
Yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, now, I'm going to head back on over to our Facebook group. It's very easy to join in the fun on our Facebook group if you weren't aware. You just go to facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, and you can post pictures of your merch and your cosplay and your favourite toys and just your general thoughts about anything Gerry Anderson related. But I, this week, popped in to ask our lovely Podsterons what from the Gerry Anderson universe couldn't they live without? Joanne Bennett says Virgil and Thunderbird 2. And, of course, the Podsterons. Matthew Alderman Harris says, in terms of the shows themselves, Thunderbirds is the one that I have the most attachment to. I was shown it on VHS by my dad when I was 3 in the early 2000s, and I've been watching it ever since. It's the only show from when I was little that I kept watching, which shows how it can appeal to all ages, and it's literally my favourite franchise in existence, says Matthew.
Nice.
Isn't that wonderful? It's amazing how something that you can be introduced to at a very early age there, I think you said he was 3 years old, can literally stay with you all your life. It's incredible, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It'd be a bit like,
Lovely.
if a toddler were to listen to, I don't know, maybe an episode of the Gerry Anderson podcast, then it would follow them like a bad smell throughout their entire lives, wouldn't it?
like
a terrible memory.
Yes. Yeah.
James Charles Munro says, much as I want to say Thunderbirds, the true answer would be Captain Scarlet. Thunderbirds was my entry into the Anderverse and the source of my love of the retro future style, but the ideas and themes of Captain Scarlet are still an influence in so many of my creative works. The mix of colourful and dark, of stylistic realism, and the fact that the villains can sometimes win are all part of that. Yes, I think that's the point. With Captain Scarlet, there was a sense of jeopardy, wasn't there? Perhaps more than you had in previous shows. Very nice.
Yes, the fact that the star could actually die, even though he couldn't really die, but that's a major thing.
Yeah, I think that's what keeps people listening to the podcast as well, isn't it? The fact that at any moment
live
now...
in hope.
Kath Baker says... she says, I never gelled with Thunderbirds when I was exposed to Anderson during the 90s, but I absolutely loved Captain Scarlet, and I still do. And Tom Hodden says, he couldn't live without his Officer Orion underwear. One can survive in boxers or briefs, he says, but without the space-age comfort and breathable support of Hubble Orion's unique design, are you truly living? Oh. There's a thought.
Fair comment.
It is, isn't it? And finally for now, then, Mark Perkins says, that's a great question. A couple of obvious answers would be the Podsterons or the podcast, but mostly the thing I'd miss would be my daily fix from my own personal randomizer. He says, my breakfast routine, is now well established. 7 days on one randomly chosen show. Secret Service this week, with episodes picked Chris Dale style, totally at random. I still spot new things and have never grown tired of immersing myself in the worlds of Gerry Anderson. Yeah, there we are. That's from Mark Perkins, who had his very own breakfast randomizer.
Hell, well, we might need to borrow your randomizer if Chris Dale doesn't come back soon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, he's still not... No, he's not, is he?
No,
look,
still absent.
Just an empty space where Chris Dale used to be.
I know, it's very sad. Well, look, let's hope that if we play out the last part of this interview, then he may come back by the end of it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, go on then, let's try that.
Okay, well, this is part 3 of 3 with David Hirsch and Robert Wood. They are the two authors of To Everything That Might Have Been, the Lost Universe of Space 1999. They've been interviewed by our marvellous podcast producer Ben Page. So here is the final part of that interview on all things lost and found in Space 1999.
We do have quite an in-depth section in the book where we go into the potential that the series, that Breakaway could have had a theatrical release.
It was not written. The one thing we kind of proved is it was never written as a 90-minute or 2-hour movie. Chris never rewrote George's script as that because he wrote all the shooting scripts.
But they shot stuff that wasn't in the script.
Right. They shot stuff that wasn't in the script. Lee Katzin did a lot of meticulous coverage. Brian Johnson and his team did a lot of additional visual effects because they had a lot of time to experiment with shots. And you could see a lot of the unused footage in the main titles all through the first season. So there's plenty of stuff there to cut a 90-minute episode at least.
Yeah. And in the letter from Sylvia Anderson that's in the book, which is one of my favorites, she references her desire that the Breakaway should premiere at Cannes Film Festival, which would have been amazing. I mean, if that alternate universe of Space 1999 had happened, Breakaway could have premiered as a feature film at Cannes in April of 1974, could have potentially then gone to whatever limited theatrical release in various countries over the summer prior to the series premiering network in the U.S., which, again, they were sure it was going to go network in September of 1974.
And the networks would have made time for a longer first episode.
Yeah, but I mean, that would have been a whole different world if that progression had happened prior to the series premiere. Of course, none of that happened. You know, Gerry, well, I mean, the theatrical cut basically of Breakaway was delivered. Gerry, Abe didn't love it, so it got cut. And Chris alludes that there could have been some politics between Gerry and Sylvia there as well, that she was kind of pushing for this theatrical release, and he came down on the side against it, you know.
Right.
Chris makes a mention about the sometimes volatile politics between the two of them and how he tried to steer clear of that.
And there was a lot of reshooting later on to fix the episode. And, you know, we have a breakdown of the shooting schedule as best as I could reconstruct it from all of Martin Landau's papers to see that they do some pickups done during Black Sun. And then later on, some of Nick Tate's pilot sequences in the Breakaway sequence were all done, you know, a couple of episodes later.
Yeah, and that's fascinating stuff as well, because, you know, often over the years, or at least sometimes over the years, and he's on film talking about this, Gerry Anderson would say that he rewrote and directed and reshot all this new material and recut Breakaway into its final form. But Martin Landau had notes that Lee Katzin directed the extra scenes, that it actually was, Lee Katzin was there. They just filmed Black Sun, and when Black Sun finished, they started doing extra stuff for Breakaway. And Landau made a note that the director for that was Lee Katzin. Yeah. So if you accept that note as being accurate, then the only thing that was filmed after that were the pickup shots of Carter in the Eagle cockpit. And yeah, sure, Gerry could very well have directed those himself. We don't necessarily have any record showing that anybody else did. But so Gerry could have done that and then honestly extrapolated in his mind and recalled it differently. That he thought we all did that. Yeah. We were just talking about that a little while ago.
I mean, it's such, TV shows are just such an eating machine when it comes to talent and trying to keep this thing going, because you can't sit around and do nothing. It's too expensive. So they're constantly looking for ways to do pickups and how do we utilize sets. We built this one set and we could use it in the next episode. So let's shoot some footage now for the next episode before we actually start on the episode prime. So they bring in the director and some cast to shoot a scene before they were finished with another episode.
Yeah, they did that with the nuclear waste. The
generating station. Yeah,
the generating area.
Alpha Child. The Alpha Child sequence was shot earlier before they actually started the episode.
Yeah, but part of the fun of the book was in piecing together some of these jigsaw puzzles. From different bits of evidence that we could find here and there, and this person's letter and that person's letter, and that contradicts the main story that we've kind of been led to believe, doesn't it? So again, we're putting together an alternate history, an alternate sort of timeline, an alternate set of, I can't say alternate facts because that's not a thing, but it's been one of the best parts of writing the book has been some of that research and putting things together and connecting the dots.
Yeah, part TV history and part mystery.
Yeah, really, true.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mystery trying to assemble things. I mean, like Robert and I had a lot of discussions when I was doing the shooting schedule, because I had the call sheets and the actual and what was the proposed shooting schedule. The proposed shooting schedule was done maybe a week or two earlier. Yep. So suddenly you'd see, Thursday we're going to be in Black Park shooting this, and then you get to Thursday and they're not in Black Park because maybe it was raining. So they decided, okay, we're going to shoot all the main mission stuff that day. So I had to sort of reconcile between all this stuff.
David did a lot of work reconciling between those different documents, and I think there might be a couple of instances where you can sort of find where dates don't necessarily match. But again, it has just been.
It gives you. It really is to give you a kind of a clearer picture as to how the show was done. Like I also tried to give you lists of cast, background characters, stunt actors, stand-ins, and we've already discovered there were a couple of names that were unfortunately left out of some characters who I would have liked to have credited, but it was just so massive pieces of trying to reconcile that sometimes you just miss things. Also, because especially in the call sheets, somebody would suddenly be called by their nickname the next day. Instead of Fred Thompson, we have Tommy Thompson or something, and you think it's a different person.
And then
it's
also
security guard 4.
one of the kids in Another Time, Another Place.
Yeah.
On the list we had, it was just one word, which was the name of the casting agency, not the name of the kid. And now we know the name of the kid. So when time comes to do a revised version of this,
we're assembling all that stuff.
We'll correct it.
You're already
further corrections. Yeah.
So where can people find this book?
Well, you of course can order it from the publisher Telos, especially if you're in England. But for everybody else, Amazon. It's available very easily through Amazon. Amazon also has a Kindle version available if you're one of these people who don't want the physical copy. God, you people are killing me when I want to get rid of stuff.
I would much rather have the physical copy, but the Kindle version was readily available. So.
Years ago, I did an interview with Denise Okuda, who was the co-writer of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. And we were talking about, they had just done a CD-ROM of the book. And I said, do you think this is the future of books? And she goes, well, I like to curl up by the fire in a nice comfy chair with a book, and I can't imagine doing that with my computer. Yeah. But unfortunately, people seem to want to do that with their Kindles.
It'll be interesting. We don't know the specific numbers of copies that we've sold for Kindle versus print, but it'll be interesting when we do find out where the bulk of the sales are coming from. But I think it's actually been popular on both platforms.
Some people have said that they both copies. They want the hardcover, but they bought the Kindle because they don't want to mess up the paperback version.
Or they could buy both and they didn't have to wait for shipping on the Kindle.
That's true. That's true.
Get it immediately.
Because the Kindle one came down immediately on day of publication, where the book you had to wait 24 hours. God, 24 hours! Oh my God! Remember we used to wait weeks, months, years. How long did I wait for the tech manual? The tech manual. I think it took 4 months before we got them here. Yeah. They were in customs.
It took a minute. They got held up.
We were really upset. Some of you people you youngins don't know what it's like to wait for something.
Well, how long will we have to wait for your next book? It sounds like you guys have lots more material to draw from and a lot more to say.
We have actually a lot of stuff that we had to leave out of the book for a variety of reasons. We are exploring avenues to use it because part of the problem we couldn't use it was material that Telos was not really interested in doing. They may change their mind, I don't know. But we have, made little inquiries to other people. We know one person who shall remain nameless right now, but pays somebody's check here. But, hopefully we could get some mileage out of some more material, because it really would be a shame to not share it with people, because it really is fascinating stuff to just, again, see how a TV series is created. Somebody asked me on Facebook, what's new about this book? Why should I buy it? And I said, well, it's not going to tell you something about the show you missed, but it's going to tell you something about how a show is created and how the show became what it was. So if you say, well, I wish the show did this, if the characters were like this, well, maybe they were, and maybe somebody changed it for a reason. And that's what the book explores.
And the book has got a lot of specific facts and things that nobody has ever heard before. Yeah. Even the most uber fans of Space 999 who believe they know everything, we thought we knew pretty much everything. When we discovered the stuff that was in this, the material that we were getting, we're blown away. Jaw-dropping moments at times when we come across certain facts.
Especially when you've seen things that you've heard rumors about, but now you know that they actually existed because you see the actual documentation from the studio that says that, yes, this did happen, like the spin-off series.
And some of it is, big documents, like the critical commentary and stuff like that. Other things are just little tiny tidbits, like, for example, in one of the pre-production documents that David had, there are the 8 original episode concepts that had been, originally devised. One of which everybody knows is War Games. That's the only one that came through with the same title and the same story. Some of the other stories came through, but with completely different titles. And, we've had a couple of people on Facebook, or message us and say, "Oh my God, with that, seriously, that could have been the title." That's I don't know if, what is the rating on this podcast? Can I say bat crazy?
There may be a bleep over one part of that. It's probably bad.
Oh, okay.
Somebody may have a problem with bats, so that we're gonna. We
had somebody message us completely crazy. That this could have been the original. This was the original title for. In that case, it's the Testament of Arcadia, and I'm not giving it away. You've got to get the book.
No, but you look at the fact that this is, and then you wonder, were they serious? Were they really going to use this title, or are they just going, well, we got to use this title for people, who are not that savvy about science fiction. We want to just really sell it easy,
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at it, the original title conveys the plot.
It does. It does.
It's just, I can't believe a show could ever have been called that. It's amazing. It's one of those little tiny it's just a few words, but it's one of those jaw drop moments in the book that I think are.
Yeah, I didn't even think they would have used that title in Fireball XL5, and they had strange titles in Fireball XL5. So,
We're gonna leave it right there at that mystery. I feel like we've just hopped in a time machine and gone back to 1974 and 73, and you guys have been my guides through the production of Space 1999. So, and it's out now.
It's out now.
Thanks, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you guys both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely stuff.
Well
thank
done.
you, David. Thank you, Robert. And thank you, Ben. If you want to buy To Everything That Might Have Been, The Lost Universe of Space 1999, then, well, can I suggest you head to Telos Publishing or to Amazon? And don't forget, it's full of contributions by Space 1999 script editor / writer Christopher Penfold. So some stuff direct from the 1975 to 1977 Horse's Mouth.
Brilliant. Yeah, I look forward to that. Now, back on over in our Facebook group where I asked the question, what from the Gerry Anderson universe couldn't you live without? Well, Lance Harrington replied, UFO, the greatest Anderson show. Fair enough. Paul Hyder says, by Captain Scarlet Coffee Coaster. Yeah, I can understand. Sean Raven, here's the first one for Barry Gray's music. Yes, quite right too. And that's seconded by Lou Dean, who says, hard choice, but it's between Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, and Barry Gray's music. Meanwhile, Sepp says, I'm going to say Barry Gray's music as well. Stingray and the end credit artwork on Captain Scarlet, of course. Martin Smith says, I couldn't live beyond the Podsterons group. The Podsterons group. It's beyond doubt the best of all those that I've joined. A great place to share our love of all things Anderson. I hope to meet some of these lovely, friendly and knowledgeable friends I've made at a future Gerry Anderson event. I did join in a few of the quizzes on Zoom, which I enjoyed, but Saturday nights are difficult for me to attend. My best wishes to all my fellow Podsterons, SIG, from Martin Smith. And then we have Steve Bushell, who says, I can't live without the dulcet tones of Richard, Jamie and Chris popping into my ear holes every week. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple more for now. Willow Lambton Smith says, well, I couldn't live without John Tracy. I refuse to give up my space hubby. Steve Beresford said, would vastly improved mental health count?
I think absolutely.
Well, yes, nice to know we're helping in some small way there. Matty Keskavari says, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say Thunderbirds as well. My dad introduced me to it in the early 90s when I was a little kid, and it was one of the shows that defined my childhood. To this day, I'm proud to call it one of my top favourite shows of all time. And that's from Matty. So quite a good spread of answers there across most of Gerry Anderson's shows. Haven't seen anyone mention Space Precinct yet.
Well, they're just holding back for dramatic effect, I should think.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Probably.
Well, yeah.
Now,
I feel a bit better now.
Sorry to distract from your Space Precinct reverie, but
yes,
talking of people holding back for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Look who's just rocked up.
What?
It's Chris Dale. He's back. And
here he is. Yes.
He's got a bag under each arm. So I think I know what's happened here is, when I described Chris as rice, he suddenly remembered that he'd made a takeaway order for collection at the local Chinese takeaway, and he's just brought it back. He wasn't cross with us at all. He just remembered his error.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I'm assuming there's enough for all of us. No?
What? Oh.
He's shaking.
Oh, it's
not enough for all of us.
It's not sharing. Oh.
It's just for him. Okay, well, look, Richard, while he's doing the randomizer, we'll try and sneak a little bit. And all right. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, over to you, Chris.
Yeah, over to you,
for
Chris.
this week's randomizer.
Oh, yeah. Mind where you're putting that chopstick.
Yeah.
Spectrum Security Vaults, Night Guard here.
Oh, no, not you. Isn't there anyone competent I can talk to?
No, I'm sorry, there's no one else around.
Oh, well, I suppose you'll have to do then. I think I left some property of mine there when I was visiting the other day. I'm in desperate need of a randomiser selection for today, and obviously I know you have an established fondness for touching things with red buttons on, so if you could...
Yes, I'll do that.
Brilliant, thank you. And is everything in order at the vault since I was last there? You know, anything missing at all?
No, I haven't had time to check.
Well, I can assure you that everything is just where it should be. And if it isn't, it was Marina. Right, what episode have we got today?
I'll pass on the message.
You'll what? Oh, right, I see. Let's have a look. Ah, right, yes, well, a very good choice, Mr. Security Guard. Today's episode is Recall to Service from the Secret Service.
Right. Goodbye.
Oh, good. So, continuing our trend of shows we haven't seen for ages on the Randomiser, here for our annual visit to the Secret Service is the Secret Service with Recall to Service. And we open in a sort of military testing facility.
Right, Mitchell. Begin the test.
Command to Aquatank.
Where Captain Grey has been dressed up as a general.
Commencing test now, Captain.
Captain Blue is a scientist. He's now got brown hair, and there's a chap called Mitchell, who is played by the puppet that played, was it Jackson in Seek and Destroy, Captain Scarlet? I think that's his first most prominent appearance. And yes, this is an episode that's quite familiar to long-time Super Nation viewers. We have the Army have built a new tank, the Aqua Tank. And it's, completely invincible, virtually unstoppable, blows up any vehicles that get anywhere near it, much like that tank there just got blown up. Some interesting pink flames on that tank.
A very forceful addition to anyone's army, sir.
Indeed, yes, that's Mitchell.
Invincible.
And what I find interesting about the Mitchell puppet, and there's several puppets in the Secret Service that went through Captain Scarlet and Joe 90. Suddenly they look very odd in the Secret Service, and I think what part of it is down to is, I believe the last episode of Joe 90 made was Viva Cordova, and a lot of the background puppets were repainted brown for that episode. So then they were repainted again back to white, pink, whatever, for the Secret Service. And they
certainly will, sir.
There's a close-up there that proves it. There's something about the repainted guest characters in the Secret Service. Some of them never looked right again. Mitchell there it almost looks like he's wearing mascara. His eyes are very, very made up. And there's one or two other long-time guest puppet characters that never looked the same in the Secret Service.
The Aquatank back to base.
Fraser from Crater 101 is one of those. He's only in a couple of episodes of the Secret Service, and he looks terrible. He looks utterly hammered. And the same with, I think, the Major Gravener puppet.
She's not responding.
They never looked right in the Secret Service, and I'm sure it's down to that having been repainted brown and then back again for Viva Cordova. Anyway, the Aquatank
conflicting instructions
is not responding to instructions, heading for a cliff. Yes, the little tank is running out of control. How are we going to stop it?
Break the main circuit. It's too late.
But I'll do it anyway, in case it isn't. Oh, what do you know it? There was a great big cliff there that the Aquatank has decided to scale. But luckily, main circuits have been broken, and the tank, narrowly avoids going over the edge. But it's all right now. So, we are back from the opening titles, Recall to Service, and this episode is probably the first episode of the show that I was ever aware of. We're going on one of my tangents here because although I didn't see the show, obviously I never saw it on broadcast because very few people did.
Fortunately not.
This episode was shown at a convention that my very first convention when I was a wee little Dalek. There was the Fab 2 Thunderbirds Fun Day in Margate. I think the Winter Gardens in Margate, which was thrown by Fanderson.
I say, don't we look smart today?
Go on now.
There was a screening room. Various episodes were shown, and this was the representative for the Secret Service.
No, that's a real nice rig out.
Matthew's Matthew's making fun of Father Unwin's old chaplain uniform there. Yes, this episode was shown during the course of that weekend, and although I didn't see it, I did see it listed in the programme, which I've still got somewhere. And it was interesting to, they were showing episodes of Thunderbirds and Stingray and Scarlet, and these were all shows that I knew.
And neither will Matthew.
And there was the Secret Service. What on earth is this?
Oh,
And I'm sure they picked this episode to show because it's the most traditional Super Mario Nation-y episode with vehicles and army stuff and lots of explosions.
I'm afraid an urgent one. We have to be at an army base in 2 hours. That doesn't leave us much time. None at all.
Well, except 2 hours.
Right, Father.
Yes, and the other show listed in the Fab 2 Thunderbirds Fun Day screening room that I'd never seen before was Terrorhawks. They showed Play It Again SRAM, and just the description of the show, having not seen any of the visuals, I think I knew that it came from the 80s, but it was like, wow, this show sounds really cool. And obviously when I finally got around to seeing Terrorhawks and actually, just seeing images of it, and let's just say my imaginary Terrorhawks was a long way off the actual Terrorhawks. This, the Secret Service, not so much. It wasn't so different from what I was expecting. I think, once you read the premise in that program, Father Unwin is actually a parish priest who's really a secret agent with a shrinking ray. It's like, oh, okay, if that's the premise of the show, whatever. And some, newly shot footage of Stanley Unwin himself, live action footage in his uniform here, as we head off to the army base. It's nice. It's nice, happy music. To the jolly army base. And I think some of this is reused from...
Who goes there? Friend.
A Question of Miracles.
I thought you was a civilian. Now then, sir, what can I do for you?
And it's the same puppet, oddly enough, playing the guard at the entry point.
It appears to be all correct, sir.
It's the Lieutenant Dean puppet from the first episode of Captain Scarlet. He was here manning this post in A Question of Miracles, and he's still here today. He's got a different voice, though.
For specialty of this case set. All lock it up very tightly with the special key number 32, secret in the special safe as the white hormones. Oh, yes. Well, I see what you mean, sir. But this is a secret base.
That's why we have the words top secret base on the side.
Came from Whitehall through 454, which, if you understand, from the minute of the special defending.
He's nodding, yes.
Failing all this, I had no...
I think also with these moments of Unwinnies when he's baffling puppet characters with this.
Once rise up, attention!
That's lovely. It really helps the choice of puppet.
Hey! Come back here!
And the Lieutenant Dean puppet is perfect for being confronted with Unwinnies because he looks... Oh, is that a reuse of the... Yeah, it's a reuse of the Captain Scarlet Yellow Fox tanker. And I think one of the support vehicles from Path of Destruction, the Crab Logger. Where was I? Oh yes, the look of various puppets that are confronted with the Unwinnies. I think it helps with the Lieutenant Dean puppet. He's got a sort of permanently... Not puzzled, but, potentially confused expression on his face.
I'm sorry if I startled you, gentlemen, but I did hear a rumour.
Did you?
Ooh.
Well, you're going to be with us for a while, so you might as well know.
I'm pregnant.
Attempt to sabotage the project.
And the evidence indicates that the person responsible is someone in authority.
And Captain Blue looks actually really good with brown hair.
It could be any one of us.
It could even be this character Mitchell over here, who we're going to hold on for a long time, while sinister music plays. But it could be any one of us. Nice to see, actually, Captain Blue and Captain Grey standing next to each other again. It's been too long. Yes, Captain Blue the puppet was not reused in Joe 90, but he was in a couple of episodes of the Secret Service. And it's not as noticeable as it is with Scarlet.
Means if the opposition are going to do something to the aqua tank, it'll probably be tonight.
Then we must prevent it, Matthew. Let's go inside.
Yes, so there's the aqua tank. It's a bit of the Unitron about it.
Who goes there?
Oh, it's him again.
It's all right, Sentry. It's your chaplain.
Oh, God, no, not you.
Sorry, sir, you can't go in. Security.
And now I'm going to walk away.
The Padre, sir.
Oh.
Let him in.
But, sir...
I said let him in.
And Professor... they actually tried walking the Stan the Unwin puppet there.
Well, what brings you here this time of night, Padre?
Just interested, Professor.
In my aquatank? Why?
And this Professor character, I can't remember the surname of the character. It's Professor. Yes, he seems to be working in Professor McLean's lab from Joe 90. I recognise a lot of this gear and the colour scheme on the wall.
Pervious to gunfire, landmines.
Ooh.
Go on.
Your case. It moved.
This is quite clearly optical diluting, which resulted very much in your burning the candles early to the early morning. Very common occurrence. Careful, Matthew.
And again, Blue is another puppet that looks really good when confronted with Unwin. He's got a handkerchief, he's dabbing his forehead with it.
You must forgive me, I have to prepare for the demonstration tomorrow.
Well, I'd like to offer success.
All clear, Father. I'll get aboard the aquatank as soon as possible.
He'd like to offer success.
Professor, best of luck.
It would not wish him luck. He's going to offer success. Here is some success. You may have it. And this is an odd moment. I think you're meant to be misled at this point and think the Professor is in league with the villains.
Graham here.
Professor Graham.
That new Padre, there's something funny about him. I don't know, but he knows too much and asks too many questions.
And he talks funny.
Well, I'll leave it to you, but he must be kept out of the way.
Ooh. Yes, that's a potentially sinister-sounding conversation that never actually goes anywhere.
Hello, Matthew. Where are you?
I'm inside the aquatank, Father, among the electronics.
Any sign of sabotage?
Yes, there's the aquatank, and there's also, it's important to mention, a little support vehicle with a radar dish that Professor Graham will be sitting in later on. And I love with this that we've been doing military bases and things for such a long time now that we've got all this stuff lying around. We can just knock up a quick military base in 5 minutes. I think this blockhouse set, model I should say, the exterior model, was in Doppelganger.
Good.
I think it was the building used for the little control room.
Big responsibilities, huh? Shall I take it?
No, it's all right. Colonel Blair here.
Colonel Blair?
Yes, we have him here. Emergency regulation, sir. Yes, sir. Of course. Immediately, sir. Goodbye, sir.
The person on the other end of that line could only have been saying one-word sentences. Yes, fine, whatever, goodbye.
Freedom to go anywhere on the base.
Who said so, sir?
The Ministry of Defense. Take care of it, Mitchell. I'm going to see the Professor.
I'll take care of it.
Well, I'm sure he's not the villain. More phone call action. Everyone's on the phone to each other in this episode.
Padre. Unwin. Government orders. Yes, it can only mean one thing. His Secret Service.
You know how weird they are.
All right. But I don't like it. Yes. The demonstration starts in an hour.
So we never find out who actually Mitchell is talking to there. Again, I think you're meant to assume that it's Professor Graham, but it's clearly not, because Graham isn't actively trying to sabotage his own project, unlike Mitchell. So I don't know who Mitchell is talking to there. I also don't know why the phone is a direct line. Why he has a direct line from the control room to his evil overlord master things.
Demonstration. Patience, please, gentlemen. The aquatank is due to appear in 15 minutes.
But don't crowd the aquatank. Don't embarrass it. It's very shy. Patience, please. Yes, some familiar-looking characters there who've come to see the demonstration. Also, one or two puppets who I've never seen before. They could be re-wigged or re-sculpted, but some of them just look quite terrible, actually.
In reserve, as it were, in case of emergency.
They're no Lieutenant Dean, that's for sure.
Attention, please.
Yes, there's the Steel puppet from Special Assignment, Commodore Goddard again, General Rebus from Noose of Ice, and then the rest of them are sort of...
In the world, the aquatank.
The aquatank, my goodness. Yeah, a few rejects, and... Oh, there's the Robert Mitchum-looking puppet as well, but there's also...
Target building, here.
The guy...
Understood attempts would be made to stop the aquatank reaching its target.
Yes, this guy. I don't recognise that puppet at all.
The area has been covered with landmines, and the aquatank will be attacked by conventional tanks and aircraft. That is why we shall be watching from the comparative safety of this blockhouse.
And I stress the word comparative.
Stop the aquatank.
I love that. That's a blatant admission. Yes, your lives are in danger.
Give the command, Captain Mitchell.
Begin the demonstration.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you see why they needed Mitchell to do this.
Aquatank programmed onto target building.
Yes, so we have target buildings, target vehicles, and who's this coming to attack the aquatank? Stock footage of Angel interceptors. incredibly enough. I guess, a few years out from Captain Scarlet, and here's stock footage of a tank from Joe 90, the episode Business Holiday. I suppose any moment now, Fab 1 is going to crash through and try to attack the aqua tank as well. Yeah, there's a puppet with a phenomenal nose that I don't recognise. Yep. The tank from Joe 90 has opened fire. But of course, nothing can stop the aqua tank. Why would you use footage of Angel Interceptors? I mean, I get that you've got a lot of it, but they're so familiar vehicles to long-time Anderson fans. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see. Definitely nice to see Angel Interceptors flying about the place, but they're so iconic. I mean, for goodness sake, they're carrying Spectrum markings. So it's not like that tank there from Joe 90. That's a generic machine. Who cares? It's still blowed up just as well as Joe blowed it up. Yes, very strange that the angels are flying around the place.
Don't worry about the captain. Look at the aqua tank.
The aqua tank is much prettier than Captain Mitchell. Oh, Mitchell has gone outside and locked all of these VIPs.
What are you doing? Sealing the electronic doors.
Oh yeah, that's what he
The
did.
staff did not want to be disturbed. But that means? It means they can't get out until I release them.
Ooh.
But those are their orders. Get back on duty, Sergeant. Yes, sir.
I like this Sergeant character, even though he just happens to materialise wherever the plot needs him to be. Sinister old Mitchell has locked everybody in the blockhouse. Permanently. And, yes, the sergeant didn't hear that gunshot.
All right, Matthew? Matthew, can you hear me?
Just about. Everything's fine. I hope the chiefs of staff are impressed.
Yes, of course, Matthew is stowed away aboard the aqua tank. I love that he's stuffed into so many crevices and corners in uncomfortable vehicles. There must be an easier way to carry out these missions. But anyway...
Tank to attack coordinates...
Mitchell has gone to see Professor Graham.
419.
I don't understand.
He's got new instructions.
Program, Professor.
And a gun.
024419.
Wait a minute. That's the blockhouse.
Oh, no.
Precisely. Stand back. I'll do it myself.
So the aqua tank continues to drive around in circles, really.
What have you done? We'll all be killed.
You will. The chiefs of staff will. I'll be in the safest place on this base. The target building.
Lovely subtle bit of puppetry there as... Professor Graham has been punched down. He was wearing an odd expression on his face there. A nice bit of puppetry there from Mitchell when he said, "I'll be in the safe place," and he gestured to himself with his hand. It was very subtle, but very human.
Right off the program course.
I don't understand.
It means someone in the control truck has altered the program.
I'll get over there immediately. It's only half a mile across the training ground.
No, Father. Remember the landmines. And by the direction it's heading, you'll have to cut across the aqua tank's path. And it's still under attack.
Trust in Providence, Matthew. Trust in Providence.
This is lovely. We're going to take Gabriel across the minefield, through a war zone, with all these explosions going off, where everything has orders to blow up everything else. And there's unarmed Gabriel pootling along the battlefield.
Father, the forces have orders to attack anything that crosses the battle area.
Have no fear, Matthew. I'm a smallish target. Sorry about this.
Yes, but you're also bright yellow. Oh dear. Yes, I also wonder why it's called the aqua tank, considering, it very rarely goes into water. Oh, the angels are keeping up there. Yes, they've opened fire on Gabriel now. They're just as good shots as ever. They can't hit Gabriel. Oh, it's nice to see the angels here, actually. I take back what I said. I like this use of old footage. It doesn't make any sense, but...
Wrong, Colonel.
I'm afraid we're locked in the building.
And it seems we are under attack from your indestructible aqua tank.
I'm sorry, General. There's nothing we can do.
Yes, this is very familiar territory. If you've ever seen .783 and Captain Scarlet, you've basically seen this story.
Get out of here. We'll all be blown to pieces.
I'm just kind of resigned to it at this point.
Program the aqua tank to destroy the blockhouse.
Then we must stop.
Yes, that's Captain Blue sort of blinking face there or something that was used. He looked a bit poorly. Which I suppose he would do, having been knocked over, as savagely as Mitchell knocked him over.
And there is.
Ridiculous.
But if there was, what would you do?
Well, I'd...
So, Unwin is getting Graham to talk him through the shutdown procedure.
A red protecting panel. Can you see it?
From the point of view of, imagine there was somebody on the tank who could do something to stop it.
Yes, I see it.
And I've got to say, the aqua tank itself, although they do a good job of making it seem unstoppable, purely by the fact that nothing seems to be actually hitting it, everyone's aim is very poor here, it doesn't quite live up to the design of the Unitron from Captain Scarlet, or even something like the spider tanks from Joe 90. Oh, Matthew nearly knocked himself out with the covering on that panel there.
Oh, you're mad, Padre, mad. The missile will launch in 30 seconds.
No time to explain. What now?
Oh.
Unwin's waggling his finger. Serious stuff.
Switch thrown!
Hooray!
This is the launch. Are you listening?
Certainly. What now?
Some very nice puppetry here as well on Professor Graham's. That you can clearly sense there's a puppeteer working his arm from below as he keeps touching his forehead as he's sort of going, oh, what next? I don't know.
10 seconds.
The left lever, Matthew. Quickly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's a really nice look, actually, of the Professor Graham puppet and the voice. He doesn't seem particularly bothered about the fact that he's going to die. But Matthew diverted the aqua tank at the last minute, and it resumed homing on the target building.
Well, there was nobody in the aqua tank. There couldn't have been, but then... Who were you talking to?
I've got to say, I've really enjoyed Keith Alexander's interview recently. Hasn't that been brilliant?
Yes, we saw it happen.
Then let's just call it a miracle, shall we? A miracle of science.
Oh.
Padre, I know.
More working of the arms from under the camera there as Unwin sort of went, "Hooray!" with his hands. And of course, Mitchell was in the target building and is, he's dead. He was very much in that building when it was blown up. We see his body, but curiously, the Secret Service never confirms death one way or another. It might happen, as it clearly did there, but they won't say it.
By the sword.
We just get that. He who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. Okay. I'm not sure why, after going at death so strongly in Captain Scarlet and Joe 90, they decided with the Secret Service, let's never ever mention it at all. I suppose it fits in with the church and all that. But anyway, that was Recall to Service. I waffled all over it. Teleplay by Pat Dunlop. Okay. Yes, pretty good. A very strong episode of the Secret Service, I would say. If you were looking to either have your first viewing of the series, or you were looking to introduce somebody to the series who was familiar with things like Thunderbirds and Scarlet but hadn't seen this, and you're worried that it's a bit too strange a format for them to really cope with, put this on. But this is a nice traditional Anderson Super Marionation-y fare. Lots of explosions, military presence. It is definitely one of the stronger episodes of the series. So yes, I really enjoyed that one. It's a bit light on the traditional weirdness of the Secret Service, but as it stands out as being something a bit more traditional than the rest of the series. Lots of nice vehicles, lots of explosions, lots of old puppets coming back. So a very entertaining episode of the Secret Service. We'll probably not see this till next year, so until then, take care, Father Unwin. Bye bye.
Love it. I
Love it.
love that fugue so much.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
Do-ba-do.
No, here we go.
Oh no, I'm not going to do the whole thing. Don't worry. Didn't I do? I did the hymn at the start, didn't I? For News and News all those years ago.
Yes.
Gosh, I did. No, I did. Didn't I sing all four parts for that?
Yeah, you did. You put them all together. This is back in the day when you had lots of time on your hands, Jamie.
I had a lot more time than I don't know how I did that. Anyway,
That's right.
Chris, thank you. Love a bit of Secret Service. It's quirky, it's weird, but it's sort of fun. Pretty much like the Gerry Anderson podcast, I'd say.
I think that's probably a fair comment. Now, I'm just picking a little bit of sweet and sour crispy duck out of my...
Shut up. He's gone off with his bags now. He thinks he's safe.
Oh, right.
Thanks, Chris.
think we got away with it. Now, I'm going to head on over to our YouTube channel, where you can find lots of Gerry Anderson-related stuff, from primers to free episodes to the podcast. For example, here are a few comments under Pod 206, which featured everything that might have been by Robert Wood and David Hirsch. For example,
can I make a guess before you start? Can I guess that somebody has said that the Fab Fact was a bit rubbish?
Well, they did say that, but I'm not going to read that one out. I didn't copy and paste that one.
Okay. But there's always someone saying the Fab Fact was rubbish. Yeah.
But it was Keith Gooch. Now, he's quite critical when it comes to Fab. He knows what he likes. Let's just say that.
Sorry to disappoint you, Keith. It wasn't my intention.
No, exactly. But Peter says, just purchase the book. Very interesting, a must for any Space 1999 fan. Betsy Lee says, I'm still listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast and I'm enjoying it on my days off running around town.
Nice.
Well, glad we're keeping you company. Underneath the Fab Facts from a couple of weeks ago about Super Mario Nation voice artists appearing in Anderson live-action shows, Cessna Ace says, well, in addition to Thunderbirds and Joe 90, Shane Rimmer was in an episode of Space 1999, plus his voice was used in 5 more, plus he was in the pilot Space Police, plus Superman 2 and Superman 3 as 2 different characters. Okay, they weren't Anderson productions, but he was in them. Ian Dealey says, here's a fab fact for you. Super Mario Nation voice artist David Graham also made a contribution to a live-action Anderson show as he voiced Tarn scientist Dr. Long in the Space Precinct episode The Forever Beetle. Yes, you're right there, Ian.
I'd forgotten all about that.
We had a bit of a search around for that because we weren't sure, were we? I remember many weeks ago whether that was in fact David Graham, but I think AC came up with the goods on that one.
Thanks, AC.
Yes, Ian says also a bonus fab fact, Matt Zimmerman was dubbed by his Thunderbirds co-star Jeremy Wilkin when he appeared in UFO.
He was indeed, yes, as the unfortunate pilot, shall we say. That's not the episode of UFO, that's what his character was.
That's right. Yeah. Just a couple more. Steve McAvoy says, this would make a great pointless style question, except only Ander fans would be able to answer it. And here's one for you, Jamie. Eddie Hansen, underneath Pod 206, simply posted, I love Jamie Anderson.
Isn't that nice?
Well, or
but
desperate,
what about
whichever way you want to look at it.
Chris Dale? Well, I was trying to be nice there, but thanks.
Oh, I see. Sorry. There we are.
Thanks, Eddie, anyway. Really appreciate that.
So do pop along to our YouTube channel. There's all sorts of goodies there, and you can leave nice, perhaps constructive comments underneath, and who knows, I might even read them out.
If they're not nice, then,
No.
Well, we won't read them out.
No, exactly. They will just be lost in the ether.
Exactly, quite right too. Who needs nasty stuff?
Who needs negativity? Pat.
Exactly. So, Richard James, I feel like you've run out of YouTube comments now.
I have, yes, you're absolutely right, yeah.
Good, well that's good, because I'm quite in need of a little nap, actually. So
it's all that Chinese of it. Oh.
Shh.
Sorry.
Goodness me. But yes, I have had too many crispy
dim sums,
duck and pancake roll things. Yeah, and those. So, Podsterons, we hope you have an amazing, lovely week and that your clammy ears are soon dry after listening to us. And please, once your ears have dried out, please go to your podcast provider of choice. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us a rebating. We haven't had a rebating for a while, have we? Let's see some rebatings, please. No, I want some rebatings. And we'll read them next week and maybe even send something nice to somebody who's left a nice rebating. Anyway, until Pod 209.
Wow.
We bid you farewell.
Yeah.
And, speak to you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I really am quite tired, you know.
Are you? Why? What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
Oh, I think racing around the country a lot, really.
Yes.
I mean, I can't. I don't know if you recall, but it's quite recently that I bumped into you. In
Where was
Maidenhead.
Oh, that was you, was it? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, I
you
hope I
it was
wasn't
Ben
rude.
Field, did you?
Yeah, that's right, yes. So
easy
tell me,
mistake to make.
on your travels around the country, let's ask you a few questions.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Favourite venue?
Ooh. Uckfield was very comfortable.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the Uckfield Picture House has a restaurant on the other side of the road. So we had dinner there, and it was very pleasant. Yeah, so that was nice.
So in the Q&A after the showing, I'm going to ask you, what's been your favourite question that you've been asked?
Ben and I agree that we had one saying, what were the biggest challenges making the doc? Which seems like a really sort of standard question, but nobody had asked it until Glasgow, I think.
Right.
And that was really interesting because then we got to sit there and think, ooh, actually that was hard, and that was hard. That was logistically hard. That was emotionally hard. That was hard in terms of production. So it was a good question.
And finally, what's it like spending all that time with Ben Field?
I mean, you get used to the odour.
Right, yes.
And eventually you sort of come to terms with the sense of humour, which I'm putting in very, very heavy air quotes.
Yes,
And occasionally he does buy the drinks. So,
Oh, well, that makes it all worth it.
Swings and roundabouts, but I'm talking like 1 in 10 times. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it's something, I suppose.
He's right. No, it pales in comparison next to my lovely co-host of this podcast, bringer of the Chinese, Chris Dale.
Yeah, of course, yes, obviously. Yeah, fair enough. Right. Well, on that note,
you're all right as well, I suppose.
No, I've got to go get some prawn crackers. I can see he's left some under the sofa there. Look.
Under the sofa? Who puts their prawn crackers there?
No, I think he just dropped. There's only a few crumbs. I think it just fell from the corner of his mouth, but that'll do me.
Right. Okay. Enjoy your floor prawn crackers, you weirdo.
Oh, hang on. I'm stuck, Jamie. I'm stuck under the sofa.
Yeah, you can get yourself out of that one. Good luck.
Help.
Bye.
Help.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.